Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Here, we're going to talk about a particularly unique figure in the history of the Three Kingdoms. Although he's not as well known as Zhuge Liang or Jia, his intelligence and strategic mind are truly astonishing, earning him the title of the most cunning strategist of the Three Kingdoms. He is also regarded as one of the most brilliant tacticians of that era. His name is Jia Xu. Many people might not be very familiar with this name. Especially if you don't know much about the Three Kingdoms period, it might sound a little unfamiliar. But don't worry. We're about to dive into the life of this legendary figure and see how Jia Xu, with his wisdom, navigated the chaos of a war-torn era and lived an extraordinary life. Why was Jia Xu called the most cunning strategist of the Three Kingdoms? First of all, what made him so special was his incredible insight into human nature. Almost like he had a superpower. His precision was truly admirable. Not only was Jia Xu intelligent, he also had a remarkable ability to protect himself during turbulent times. He devised countless strategies, yet always managed to stay undefeated. What's even more impressive is that Jia Xu served under several different lords during the chaotic Three Kingdoms era. And each time, he managed to do even better than before. In the end, he lived to an old age and died peacefully. Such an accomplishment, in the violent and unstable Three Kingdoms period, is nothing short of a miracle. Some even say that Jia Xu's strategies helped launch the era of the Three Kingdoms conflict. Without some of his key decisions, the course of history might have looked entirely different. Jia Xu was like a hidden chess master behind the scenes. One slight push, and the whole game would shift dramatically. According to historical records, Jia Xu was born into a Confucian family and was considered a genuine Confucian scholar. His ancestors were said to be disciples of Xuanzi, a great master of Confucianism. Sounds surprising, doesn't it? After all, Confucianism emphasizes virtue, morality, and the demeanor of a gentleman. So how did it produce someone who became famous for his cunning strategies? Let's leave that question as a mystery for now, and revisit it after we've heard more of Jia Xu's story. Let's start with a story from his youth, which shows how he used his wits to escape danger. As a young man, Jia Xu once resigned from his post due to illness and was on his way home. On the road, he and a group of travelers were captured by bandits. Faced with danger, Jia Xu didn't panic. Instead, he quickly came up with a plan and said to the bandits, "I'm the grandson of Grand Commandant Liangjiang. If you harm me, my grandfather won't let you go. Your entire families will be in danger. But if you release me, I promise to send you ransom in my grandfather's name." Now, Liangjiang was a famous and highly respected general in the northwest at that time. When the bandits heard his name, they were immediately frightened. They asked skeptically, "Are you really Liangjiang's grandson? Can you swear to it?" Jia Xu put on a sincere face and swore convincingly. The bandits believed him and let him go. Unfortunately, the others weren't so lucky. In reality, Jia Xu was not Liangjiang's grandson at all. He had relied entirely on his wits and acting skills to save his life. What's more, after escaping danger, he immediately reported the bandits to the authorities, providing information that helped the officials wipe them out. This incident made many people think Jia Xu was a bit crafty. Not only good at deception, but also extremely decisive. But from another perspective, in such a life-threatening moment, to remain calm and save himself already demonstrated his extraordinary intelligence. And this was just the tip of the iceberg when it came to Jia Xu's brilliance. Jia Xu was from Liangjiang, and later joined his fellow townsman Dong Zhuo's faction as a low-ranking official. After Dong Zhuo's downfall, his generals Li Ju and Guosi panicked and prepared to flee. At this critical moment, Jia Xu stepped in and gave them a piece of advice. He said, I've heard that the people in Chang'an are planning to wipe out all of us from Liangzhou. If you abandon your army and flee now, even a minor official along the road could arrest you. Instead, why not do the opposite? Take the remaining troops and attack Chang'an. If you're lucky, you might seize the city and gain control of the empire. And even if you fail, it won't be too late to run. His words opened Li Ju and Guoxi's eyes, and they decided to take the risk. To boost morale, they spread rumors along the way, claiming that the people of Chang'an intended to slaughter all the men of Liangzhou, urging everyone to unite and fight for survival. As a result, more and more soldiers from Liangzhou joined their ranks. By the time they reached the gates of Chang'an, their army had grown to over 100,000 men. Surprisingly, this group of men who were originally fleeing for their lives actually succeeded in capturing Chang'an, taking control of Emperor Xian of Han and the entire imperial court. All of this was thanks to Jia Xu's single piece of advice. He had turned a group of men who were supposed to be scattered and on the run into commanders of an army that now held sway over the empire. It was truly unbelievable. However, this strategy also brought Jia Xu a great deal of criticism. Many believe that, while his plan saved the men of Liangzhou, it threw the Eastern Han court into utter chaos, directly triggering the beginning of the Three Kingdoms period. The Eastern Han was already teetering on the edge of collapse, and Jia Xu's move was like the final domino that tipped everything over, sending the entire realm into fragmentation and launching the era of warlord rule. Despite that, Jia Xu's story was just beginning. His brilliance would continue to shine in the years to come. After taking Chang'an, Li Ju and the others were deeply grateful for Jia Xu's strategy, and wanted to reward him with a noble title and a high-ranking military position. But Jia Xu declined, saying, "This strategy was only for self-preservation. There's no merit to speak of, it was your strength that won the battle, not mine. I dare not claim credit." These words sounded humble, but they concealed a deeper wisdom. Jia Xu had already seen through the situation. He knew that while Li Ju and Guoxi had temporarily seized power, they were not men capable of achieving lasting success. On the surface, they seemed united, but underneath, they were full of suspicion toward each other, and a fallout was inevitable. If Jia Xu had accepted a high position, it would have meant tying himself to a sinking ship. So instead, he chose to keep a low profile and protect himself. Sure enough, Li Ju, Guoxi, and the others later destroyed themselves in internal conflicts, each meeting a miserable end. But Jia Xu, having stayed clear of the infighting, successfully avoided the disaster. This episode perfectly demonstrated Jia Xu's insight. He not only saw through the broader political situation, but could also accurately judge people's personalities and fates. He knew how to survive in troubled times. Not long after, Jia Xu joined the camp of his fellow townsman, Zhang Xiu. In the year 197, during the Battle of Wancheng, Zhang Xiu and Liu Biao's allied forces were defeated by Cao Cao. At the time, Cao Cao suddenly received news that Yuan Shao was attacking Xuchang, so he withdrew his forces in haste. Zhang Xiu saw this as a great opportunity and wanted to pursue Cao Cao to regain some dignity. But Jia Xu advised him, "Don't chase. If you do, you'll lose." Zhang Xiu didn't listen. Having just been beaten by Cao Cao, he felt it would be shameful not to pursue. So he led his troops in pursuit, only to fall into a trap and get heavily beaten again by Cao Cao, returning humiliated. Ashamed, Zhang Xiu apologized to Jia Xu, admitting he should have listened to his advice. He hadn't expected such a disaster. To his surprise, Jia Xu said, "Now go after them again, this time you'll win." Zhang Xiu was stunned. We just got thrashed, and now you want us to go again? Still, he chose to trust Jia Xu, and regrouped his forces for another pursuit. This time, they actually defeated Cao Cao's rearguard and claimed a victory. Afterwards, Zhang Xiu asked Jia Xu how he knew it would work. Jia Xu explained clearly. You're skilled in warfare. But you're not as good as Cao Cao. When he was retreating earlier, he definitely stayed at the rear to protect his troops himself. Even though your men were elite, your generals weren't as capable as Cao Cao. And your morale was low. So it was guaranteed you'd lose the first pursuit. But I guessed that Cao Cao withdrew because of trouble in his rear base. He was in a hurry to get back. And wouldn't fight with full strength. The commander he left behind, while still competent, was slightly weaker than you. So the second time, even with a tired army, you could win. This analysis left Zhang Xiu in absolute awe. And from then on, he followed Jia Xu's advice to the letter. This story illustrates Jia Xu's uncanny ability to assess a situation with precision. He not only understood the strengths and weaknesses of both sides, but could also adapt his strategy to the evolving circumstances. By the year 199 AD, the situation in Guangzhou had grown even more complicated. Yuan Shao sent envoys to persuade Zhang Xiu to surrender. Zhang Xiu, knowing he wasn't cut out to dominate the world, was planning to defect to Yuan Shao. But Jia Xu rejected the proposal right in front of the envoy, and told Zhang Xiu, it's better to submit to Cao Cao than to Yuan Shao. Zhang Xiu was shocked. After all, during the Battle of Wancheng, he had already surrendered to Cao Cao once, only to later turn against him due to a falling out. He even launched a surprise attack on Cao Cao's camp, causing heavy losses. Cao Cao's beloved general Dian Wei and his eldest son Caoang were both killed in that battle. As a result, Lady Ding, Cao Cao's principal wife, broke off all ties with him. It's safe to say that Zhang Xiu and Cao Cao were bitter enemies. Moreover, Yuan Shao had far greater military strength than Cao Cao. So siding with Yuan Shao seemed like the safer choice. In this situation, why would Jia Xu advise Zhang Xiu to submit to Cao Cao? Jia Xu explained it very clearly. Yuan Shao couldn't even tolerate his own brother, Yuan Shu. How could he possibly tolerate you? On the other hand, there are 3 advantages to joining Cao Cao. First, Cao Cao holds the emperor and issues orders in his name, he's the legitimate authority. Second, his military is weaker, so he truly needs allies, he will sincerely welcome you. Third, he has grand ambitions and won't cling to old grudges. Zhang Xiu found this reasoning convincing, and decided to trust Jia Xu. He led his troops to surrender to Cao Cao. When Cao Cao heard that Zhang Xiu had come to submit, he was so pleased that he personally welcomed him, even arranging for his son Cao Jun to marry Zhang Xiu's daughter, and appointing Zhang Xiu as general who spreads martial might, Yengu Jiangjun. Cao Cao also deeply admired Jia Xu, appointing him as Minister of Guards, Zhi Jinwu, and ennobling him as Marquis of Duding. This event once again proved Jia Xu's keen insight. At this point, some might ask, if Jia Xu was so good at judging people, why did he seem to pick the wrong lords at first? From Dongzhuo to Li Ju, then to Zhang Xiu, and only finally to Cao Cao. He served several masters before finding the right one. Unlike Zhuge Liang or Guojia, who seemed to pick the right person from the start. But in truth, this was exactly where Jia Xu's wisdom lay. He didn't switch lords on a whim, but rather used observation and trial and error to find the path that best suited him. In times of chaos, who can guarantee they'll make the perfect choice the first time? Every decision Jia Xu made was a strategic adjustment to match the evolving landscape, eventually leading him to the right place. Later, Cao Cao faced a dilemma, whom to name as his successor. He favored his younger son Cao Ji. But according to tradition, he should name his eldest son Cao Pi. Unable to decide, he sought Jia Xu's advice. Jia Xu replied, "This is your family matter. I shouldn't interfere." Cao Cao pressed him, saying, "I want to make Cao Ji my heir. What do you think?" Jia Xu still repeated, "That is your family's business." Frustrated, Cao Cao said, "I know it's my family matter. But I want to hear your opinion." Jia Xu pretended to hesitate. And after a long silence, he said slowly, "I was just thinking about what happened to Yuan Shao and Lu Biao." That one sentence made Cao Cao realize the danger. Both Yuan Shao and Lu Biao had tried to bypass their eldest sons and appoint younger ones, which led to internal strife and the destruction of their families. Hearing this, Cao Cao laughed heartily, and in the end, chose Cao Pi as his heir. Why didn't Jia Xu simply say, "Don't choose Cao Ji"? Because he understood that as a strategist, some things should not be said too bluntly. If he had openly opposed the Lord's idea, he might have offended him, or even lost his trust, by using one indirect, thought-provoking sentence. Jia Xu made his point without offending Cao Cao, showcasing his masterful diplomacy. When Cao Pi ascended the throne, Jia Xu reached the peak of his career, rising to the top rank of Grand Commandant, Tai Wei, one of the three excellencies. At one point, Cao Pi asked him, "Should I attack Eastern Wu first or Shu?" Jia Xu replied, "The most important thing is to govern the country well. Now is not the time for war." But Cao Pi deliberately twisted his words and said, "Oh, so you're suggesting I attack Eastern Wu first?" Jia Xu immediately understood his intention. Though he replied, "That's not what I meant," his voice was so soft. It sounded more like talking to himself. Cao Pi smiled and said, "Then let's attack Eastern Wu first." Jia Xu knew that Cao Pi had already made up his mind, so he didn't argue further. As expected, Cao Pi suffered a defeat in his campaign against Eastern Wu. Many people might think Jia Xu was being too cunning in this situation, knowing it would end in failure yet not pressing the issue. But in reality, Jia Xu understood that Cao Pi was young and headstrong, and wouldn't listen to advice anyway. Rather than push too hard and cause offense, it was better to remain silent and preserve himself. This kind of prudent self-preservation was one of the key reasons Jia Xu was able to live a long life amidst the chaos of his time. Now, let's return to the question from the beginning. Why did Jia Xu, a man from a Confucian background, become such a formidable strategist? The answer lies with his philosophical forefather, Xuanzi. Although Xuanzi was a master of Confucianism, he differed significantly from traditional Confucian thought. Most notably, he proposed the idea that human nature is inherently evil. Xuanzi was not only well-versed in Confucianism, but also studied other schools of thought, such as Taoism and Moism, and synthesized a wealth of political and psychological insight. These ideas were passed down and eventually influenced Jia Xu, giving him a solid foundation in Confucian principles, while also allowing him to apply a wide range of flexible strategies. According to some historians, Jia Xu's life was like a brilliant drama of wit and cunning. He navigated the chaos of his time with remarkable ease, not only ensuring his own survival, but also influencing the course of the entire Three Kingdoms period. Jia Xu's story teaches us that true wisdom is not just about making clever plans. It's about understanding the times, protecting oneself, and, in doing so, subtly shaping the course of history. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.